Okay, happy Thursday. As always, Baltazar will be assisting today. If you have a couple blocks, we're going to start with them. One block is fine as well. You don't need blocks for this, but we are going to start in a child's pose, and then we'll come up and then use the blocks. So if you want to head there now, that would be wonderful. DerekBarris.com/yoga for all information, schedule updates, and donation links for these classes. And also, I'll be doing the next Zoom workshop will be next Sunday, I believe, first Sunday in August, which is the first or the second. And I'll have that information up today. So if you want to register and check that out, that would be great. Subscribers to my newsletter at the paid level get free access to all the workshops as well. Okay, so we're in child's pose. And just settle in. Just take a few moments here to relax. We'll begin our stretch session in a very chill manner. Just find some deep breaths. If there's any part of you that feels a little tight here, see if you can send your focus and your breathing there. So if that's in your ankles or in your neck or your shoulders, just take a few deep breaths here. And every exhale, soften into the floor a little bit more. And on your next inhale, lifting your head up, coming up onto your hands and knees, and have the blocks close by. We're going to do a second child's pose in a moment. Let's take a few rounds of cat-cow. Make it interesting for yourself if that means a little side to side or forward and back movement. Just feel it out for the next 5 breaths or so. And then on this second child's pose, if you have 1 or 2 blocks, we're going to do a little shoulder stretch here. We're going to start off in our shoulders today. So your elbows come up either, you can do both elbows on one block. If you have a pillow or something else that gives you a little height, you're going to bring your palms together and try to bring your thumbs into your spine as you go into child's pose. I like knees wide here, lets my chest settle down, and then just breathe here. Take about 3 more deep breaths here. And then extending your arms out, your hands down, slide back. You can move the blocks over. I might use them a little bit later. Come back onto your hands and knees. And with your shoulders right above your wrists, let's do some shoulder circles now. And keep your core engaged here, so you're not just letting your midsection hang. You want a little bit of strength there. And then just rolling out. Should feel kind of good. And then reverse directions. And try to make the movement smooth, not fast, not rushed, not necessarily even big. Just nice and smooth through that range of motion. And then from there, keep your hips right above your knees, and we'll do a third, basically child's pose, puppy pose. Right, walk your palms out, and then maybe your head, maybe your chest comes to the ground if you're very back bendy. Keep your elbows off the ground as you release down. Take about 5 deep breaths here. And 2 more. Now push through your palms, lift up, drop your forearms down, and then you're going to slide right into Sphinx Pose. And in your Sphinx Pose, your elbows are directly under your shoulders, and then you control the intensity. If you're just kind of hanging, right, you're not going to get too much. Push down through your wrists and your forearms, and then pull back on your elbows. Pull your shoulder blades back and down, and then try to lift your heart up. And take 5 breaths here. One more breath. And then let your elbows go wide. You can make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead. And then just soften for a moment. And shake out your tailbone. And then you're going to come up onto your right forearm back to Sphinx. Take your left hand off the ground into Spider. So we're going to do a little off center here. You're going to take it, drop your left side of the chest towards the ground, and then push back up through that left hand. All right, so play with your range of motion here. Push down through your right forearm the entire time. And try to keep your hip pointers on the ground so you're not lifting your hips up at all. My left hand might lift a little, but really about that left shoulder. Take 2 more. And 1. Okay, and then we're going to switch. So bring your left forearm down and take your right hand out into Cobra. And just sink down and then push that arm away. Two more. And 1. And then center back off. And again, just come down, relax. And then let's try out full spider now. Taking your fingertips off of the mat, your elbows come straight up. This is both hands now. And then as you inhale, wrap your elbows to your ribs, lift up to cobra. And then as you exhale, let your elbows flail back out as you lower down. We'll do 4 more. Inhale. Exhale, take it at your pace for 3. Last one. And palms down, take your time, push into child's pose. All the way back. And release your lower back there for just about 3 breaths here. Okay, let's build a little flow that's going to bring us into down dog, and then we're going to work on our hips next. So hands forward, we're going to take 3 rounds of this. Inhale, through a cat back, come onto hands and knees, and then as you get there, pull your heart forward, and then lower knees, chest, chin down, hips stay up. Cobra pose. Through a cat back to child's pose, round back, push back. Thunderbolt is the inhale. Stand up on your knees, stretch your arms up, and then back to child's pose. Through a cat back, into cow, and then 8-point pose or knees, chest, chin. Find your cobra. And again, pull your navel in, round your back, get a little traction on the way out, and then pop up, thunderbolt. And then back down. And we'll take one more full cycle through that cat back, into cow, and then lower down. Inhale, finding your back bend. Pushing back, belly strong, round it out. Thunderbolt. And then this time, come hands and knees, bring it forward, down dog, press it back. Take a moment, not standing too much today, but enjoy for a moment to pedal out in your down dog. And on Tuesday's flow, the dynamic flow, we started left side. So we'll keep that theme this week. We'll start left side today. Bend your knees. Step your left foot outside of your left hand. Lower your right knee. Now, first one, just dropping your hips side to side. Free form movement for a few moments into your shoulders and your hips. And keep your knee down to start. Drop your forearms down. Come into lizard pose. And then option, tuck your back toes, lift your knee. 5 breaths in lizard. A little bit of movement here if you want, of course. Just easing into our practice. Keep your right forearm down, lower your back knee. Take your left hand onto your left thigh. Now, come to the outside edge of your right foot and come into basically a side plank on your right forearm. All right, so your right hip is off the ground and just press your left hip away. We're going to do a little rotational work here to get to the ground. Just 2 more breaths. And we're going to come down for left side pigeon. So you're going to lower all the way down, slide your right arm forward, and roll onto your back. And as always, if you have room or if you're on a carpet, that's great because the mat is a little limiting for how I like to stretch, but we'll work with what we got. And now you're on your back. And that left side pigeon here, thread the needle. Now we are gonna work this. We're gonna be here for a few minutes here on our back before we come back up. So you can up level, you can stay here. We are gonna do some cradling movements as well. I'm gonna up level by straightening my right leg and then just taking my hamstring stretch along with my left glute stretch. 5 breaths. Make sure your left foot stays flexed here for the duration of your stretch. And Now, if you have your right leg straight, you're going to rebend, put your foot down, keep the crossing, bring your forearms down, and just 3 light bridges in this position. Inhale, roll your hips up. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, drive through your forearms and your right foot equally. Lower down, 2. 1 more, inhale. And lower down, 3. Drop your knees, your right knee over to the right. Take your right hand to your left thigh and then just press it away. This for 3 breaths. Your left foot is on the ground now. And then pull back up. And now we're going to go towards a cradle. So grab your left foot with your right hand and take your left hand outside of your left knee. You can keep your right knee bent or you can extend it out now. Now in this cradle position, we're going to try to bring your left knee to your right shoulder. So press it across. Now keep your right leg out. This is a little piriformis stretch. And then release it back. We're going to take a few rounds of flossing it first. So again, as you go across, try to extend your left foot out, not down, right? The sort of impulse is going to be to let that left foot drop, makes it easier. We want to keep it up there as we go across. 2 more. Last one we're going to hold. So take it across and then breathe. So you have your left foot even with your left knee, you're flexing, and then your left hand now pushes down. So you're, again, trying to get that knee over to your right shoulder. Make sure your shoulders stay down. 3 more breaths. And then bring it back to center. And now, take this in stages. You may not need it, but I'm going to show you it. You're going to take your block under your head, and that's going to give you a little lift so your neck can relax. You can bend your right knee to start, and now we're going to full cradle. So wrap your hands around your left shin here. Now, you can probably, some of you may be able to drop your head to the ground. I'm going to work a little differently. I'm going to use this leverage I have with the block, and then I'm going to try to extend my right leg out straight. You'll notice for me it hovers. I can bring it down, but then that pushes my left hip away. So I find a really nice stretch right here, that extension in my right leg, and now I'm trying to pull my left shin up toward my chest. We'll take 5 breaths here. Two more. And then rebend your right knee. Cross your left shin over, like thread the needle. You can let go of the block if you're using it. And then take half happy baby in that left leg. Now, same thing, you can keep your right leg straight. I'm going to keep it bent, and then you're going to bring your left knee to the ground. So your right hip may lift, totally fine, and then extend your left leg up to the ceiling into the hamstring. I was playing 5 rounds. Again, this is much more free-form sort of movement here. There is some rolling here. My goal is to find as much range as I can, and my right knee being bent facilitates that. If my right leg is straight, I'd still be getting work. I just wouldn't be getting as much range in my left hip, so I kind of like this version. 1 more round. Now let's just take a pure hamstring stretch here. Again, right leg bent or straight here. If you want to climb it up, go for it. 5 breaths. Flex your left foot. Really reach out through your heel here. 3 more breaths. Now I've got my big toe in my left foot now with my first 2 fingers in my right hand, and then I'm going to lie back again and move into a deeper spinal twist as I bring my right leg across. Sorry, left leg. Any twist here though. We're going to roll back into to our stomach next. So 5 breaths here in your twist. Make sure your left shoulder is down on the ground, so you're only twisting as much as your shoulders are allowing you. And then lift your left arm up, over to your left foot, roll over to the side, bring your right arm up above you. I know, we're getting our way back. You're gonna slide your left leg around. Once again, why the mat doesn't really work for these sorts of classes. Come into upward facing dog. And then back to downward facing. And take a moment, pedal out through your feet. Rug's nice too. I mean, this entire apartment used to be carpeted. I've put in flooring because if you live with cats, you'll know why. But it is nice to have just some softer space to roll around in. If you want plank chaturanga, come through a flow. I know we spent a good amount of time there on that left hip now. Let's just finish it off. Take your left leg up, bend your left knee, open your hip, and then circle your leg around for a moment. And then we'll slide that left leg through, Pigeon Pose. And take about 2 minutes in Pigeon today. And we'll do that whole thing again on the right side. So find the pigeon that works for you. There's a fair amount of stretching in there. So if there's a king pigeon or a twist or something that's calling you, please make this your time here. And if you're with me in the more basic half pigeon, drive the top of your right shin down, wrap your right hip forward, pull your left sitting bone back. So the challenge here is to keep the integrity in the legs, to keep that isometric engagement so your left hip is feeling the stretch the entire time. Your left glute, maybe some rotator muscles, maybe the top of your right hip, depending on how much you're pressing. And now the challenge there is maintaining that and then relaxing your upper body. About 4 more deep breaths here. Let's make our way back to downward facing. You have a lot of options here. You can pedal, you can flip your dog, raise your leg, you can take another flow. So take a few moments to work that out and see how your hips feel. Making your way back to dog if you're not there. And nice and easy, step your right foot outside of your right hand and begin with your left knee on the ground. And again, a little side-to-side movement here, just to see how that hip is doing, how you feel now that one side is hopefully pretty worked there. And we start to begin to move into the other side. And we'll come into our lizard pose next. It's nice to begin with the knee down, just to find both forms down, or of course if you have those blocks, grab them. If you want to lift your back knee up next, you can move into that version. And again, you can hold and breathe, or little movements might feel nice right now. And lowering your knee, staying on your left forearm, taking a little twist here, right hand to your right thigh, press it away, and then come to the outside of your left foot and then lift your left hip up. So it's kind of like a forearm side plank, right? Not perfectly, but playing with that and just pressing away in the twist for 3 breaths. And you lower down, basically you bring it down, come onto your left side here to make that transition as you roll onto your back. So again, if I wasn't limited by the camera, I'd just roll across, but I'll come back over. And we're in reclining pigeon pose now to start. Right leg is crossed over your left thigh. Flex your right foot if you are extending your left leg up. And flex your left foot. And even though, Thursdays are mellower than Tuesdays, and then have a lot of Saturdays, we will have more. As I said, my wife will be filming classes soon in August, so we'll have 3 flows a week here. 3 classes a week. This isn't really a flow. But you can find plenty of work here the more intensely you engage. So if both feet are flexed, if you're squeezing and engaging your muscles, stretching becomes quite rigorous. If it's too much, then you back off. But that's what I really like about this practice. Right, as you control the intensity. Sometimes you're doing vinyasas, it's a little different, right? You're automatically in the flow. Take 2 more breaths here. The challenge of a stretch class is staying mentally and emotionally engaged the entire time. Now from there, rebend your knee, put your foot down. And then just bring your hips, your feet, your knee and your right foot over to the left. And then take your right hand, press your right hip open. So subtle little stretch here. I really feel it in my right rotator and psoas muscle. So that's why I kind of like this one. And now let's work Piriformis. So come back up and you'll take your right foot with your left hand, and now your right hand just below the knee on your thigh is going to guide this movement. Left knee bent, or you can extend it out. Now try not to let your right foot drop, because then you're going to miss the good part of the stretch. So keep it up even with your knee and then press your right knee over to your left armpit. And then back. We'll do 5, and the 5th we'll hold. All right, 2 more. I hear Osiris coming. Hello. Okay, last one we'll hold. Go across and breathe. So again, flex your right foot and use a little bit of strength in that right arm to press, and you'll find something in there, I hope. 3 more breaths. And work back to center. Now bend your left knee and place your right foot over your thigh again. Bring your forearms down next to you. We'll do 3 bridges here. So press equally through your left foot and both forearms. Inhale, press up. And exhale, lower down. Inhale. Exhale, 2. And inhale. And exhale, 3. Now we're going to go into cradle mode. So again, it's nice to have a block or a pillow if you want that added height. Totally not required for this. And again, why I like it as I cradle and I pull is it lets my neck relax. I'm not tensing at all there. And then I can also extend my left leg out. And I just feel a little bit more engaged with that extra help. Breathe here for 5. Two more breaths. Bend your knee. You're going to take your right foot with your right hand, open it up, and again, you can keep the block for this one or let it go. So this is a little more free form. My hip's going to turn as I bring right knee all the way to the ground, and then I'm going to stretch my leg up. And flow through that a few rounds. So I'm not just letting my hips collapse over to the side. That's important, right? I am trying to keep my left hip down. It's just to get my right knee down. It has to lift a little bit, but I am trying to resist that action. So I am getting work in my left leg as well. Let's take one more. And then stretch up, and then find that right side hamstring stretch. Remember, right side hamstring stretch, you can have your foot directly above your hip, right? Pulling in changes the stretch a little bit. And then you can also extend your leg and lift up. Any of those options here for 5. Again, I take my right big toe with my first 2 fingers. We're going to move into a spinal twist. So if you have the room and you can straighten your leg out, go for it. If not, bent knee is totally fine. The most important thing, again, is keeping your right shoulder on the ground. Otherwise, you're twisting your upper back and your neck, and that's not going to be good. Take 3 more breaths here. If you do have a straight right leg, flex your foot, right? Push that heel, feel your femur bone root back, and therein lies the magic of this stretch. 2 more. You're going to take your right arm up. You're going to just transition over, swing your leg around. Right back to your belly, finding your upward facing dog or cobra. And pull back to your downward facing. Take a moment there. And now feel both hips worked. And then we'll take our final pose in this sequence. So as you're ready, lift your right leg up, bend your knee, do some hip circles. And slide to Pigeon Pose. Again, find, if you took a variation on the other side, we have 2 minutes here to settle into our pigeon. So again, if you're keeping it with half pigeon like I am, top of your left foot down, wrap your left hip forward, pull your right sitting bone back. Try to keep that intensity of the legs. And then you find your mental focus next. You find your breath and you soften. We got about 5 more deep breaths here. Last time, back to your downward facing dog. You can flip it, come through a final flow, whatever you need here. And then let's make our way to seated and stretch your legs out in front of you. Okay, let's see how that feels. Let's go wide next. So you bring your legs out into a straddle pose. Doesn't have to be super wide, but you do want to keep both sitting bones on the ground. We're gonna do side to side work here. And so what we don't want to do is as we lean over to the right, we don't want to lift our left sitting bone. But since we started left, we'll start left. So bring your left forearm down inside of your left knee, or just bend your elbow. It doesn't have to go all the way down, because if your right sitting bone lifts, again, you kind of miss the point there. Right arm extends up, and then maybe over your ear. And you know what? I see that strap, so I'm gonna work that strap today. I'm sorry for not preparing you, but if you do have a strap, it's kind of nice to have this for the side stretch. If you don't, you're in it and you're breathing. And if you do, you want to make a loop with your strap, put it around your left foot, and then you can have a little assistance. It's kind of nice. Now, of course, grabbing your big toe is also an option, but then it really turns me down instead of opening up into the twist. So that's why I don't really go for that one as much. I like having the height here. And then think about my left ribs rotating and then turning up. And take another 5 breaths here. Make sure both feet are flexed for this. Just stay nice and low, turn over your left leg, and then walk out, and then fold over your left leg. Again, right sitting bone is down, very important on this one. Right foot is flexed, don't forget about that leg. Feel a lot of work on that left leg, but keep pushing out on that right side. Take 5 more breaths here. And inhale, come on back up. Take that strap off on the way. And center off, and then bend your right knee. And bring your right foot into your inner left thigh. And then we'll take it onto that left hip. You can come into left shin in front of right, crossed over. We've done a few pigeons. If you want ankle to knee and you're feeling that, go for that. And then we'll fold over and release. Again, just make sure your sitting bones are down, so push back. If you slide a block under your seat, that might feel good too. Take 2 more deep breaths here. And slide back up to sit. And you can maintain your seat for a moment. If you're an ankle to knee, you might want to go cross-legged here. Take your hands behind your head and interlace, and then just circle your upper back here. Release that. Okay, and then hands down, and let's go to the other side. So straddle your legs out. And since you do have your strap or a towel, you want to grab it right away. Again, not required for this. You bring your right forearm, elbow inside of your thigh. Now just track that left hip. Make sure it stays where it is. Don't lift it up. Flex both feet. And then think about pushing your right elbow into your thigh and then lengthening through your right ribs. Rotate up into this twist. Take about 4 more deep breaths here. And we're going to go into the forward bend now. So rotating again. Now is when there's more danger of that left sitting bone lifting. So push back into that hip and then find your twist across your right leg. Fold and breathe. Keep both feet flexed for the duration of the stretch. Very strong legs here, just like a standing fan pose. Pretty much your entire body except your jaw and your forehead. That's where we tend to take the tension as we move into that hamstring, into our QL, into your shoulders here. So where you find that stretch, soften your facial muscles. Take another 5, 6 deep breaths. Start to crawl back up. Center off, and then bend your left knee and bring it inside, and then, well, unless you do ankle to knee, you can do ankle to knee or cross or stack into this sort of just Sukhasana. Ankle to knee is not really Sukhasana. For some people it is. And then lengthen out and then fold. Sukhasana just means easy seat, right? So if ankle to knee is easy for you, you're very lucky. But something where you find a bit of stretch, but you also find a bit of release here. So as you lengthen out, try to take the roundedness out of your back, pull your heart forward first, and then when you're like, okay, there it is, you can soften into that space. Take 3 more deep breaths here. Come on back up to a comfortable seat. As you take your hands behind your head, take the opposite pinky on top from the other side, and again, just kind of release, lift up, circle side to side. Okay, release your hands down, stretch your legs out in front of you. Bring your feet together. Let's do a little external rotation before we take our last pose. So we've done this often. If you want, you can just bring your hands next to your knees, or you can reach down, grab your feet, and externally rotate from your femur bone, and then turn back up. So your hands are only pushing at the edges, actually the edge of the external rotation. Let your leg muscles do the work here first, and then you're accentuating with your arms here. One more. Now lengthen your heart forward as your toes come back up. Walk out over your legs into your Apashimotanasana. If your strap is handy, of course you can use it. Same principles. Pull your heart forward first. Find length in your back, then release your neck and your jaw and your forehead. And take your 5 deepest breaths of our practice right here. And then from here, rolling up, rolling onto your back for your Shavasana. Go ahead, lie back. Take a few minutes here just to let all that settle. And I needed that today. I hope you did as well. I will see you next week for dynamic core flow. And again, derekbarris.com/yoga for all the information and workshops, etc. Namaste, everyone. Thanks for practicing.